I think what attracted me to baskets in the very beginning was the utilitarian nature of them. They were used daily, not so much anymore, but years ago. So that's what I really liked. The precision of the shaker baskets, like I said, I really enjoyed. So to be able to design and make a basket that I could use around the house was fabulous. Now the funny thing now is my baskets have gotten smaller and smaller, so it's not like they are really very utilitarian these days.
Interesting. What's driving the scale change?
Basically, it's a personal challenge. It's one thing to develop the skills to execute a full-size basket.
Right.
After a while, I decided that I wanted to go smaller. Could I do it? And I'm actually going to show you one of my, sorry about this. Okay, there's my backpack.
Wow.
So when you photograph it, typically you can't tell that it is so
Small.
minuscule.
Right.
Which actually speaks highly of the skill needed because you can't tell
Right.
the true scale.
Yeah.
But anyway, minis were my challenge. So I've done,
Amazing.
that backpack is about 1.1 inches tall. I do a sister basket, which is a fishing creel that's 3/4 of an inch tall. I
Wow.
don't happen to have any of those at the moment.
Oh, good Lord. In the community of Western Massachusetts, are there museums or other places where you were able to look at, examine, and
Yes.
learn from?
Yes. The Hancock Shaker Village has been one of my absolute favorite places.
Right.
I was able to volunteer there for one summer as a basket maker and
wow.
demonstrate to the visitors that were coming in. But I also had the opportunity to get into the stacks and I couldn't handle, but I was up close and personal with some incredible shaker baskets
Yeah.
in various stages of disrepair, unfortunately. But it was fabulous. Actually, the basket that I'm working on right now was inspired by one that I saw there.
Wow.
What I saw there was actually a lid. The only thing that was remaining was the lid.
Oh, wow.
Over in Chatham, New York, there's an incredible shaker collection.
Yes.
It's not on a shaker site per se, but it's fabulous. And I was able to photograph a similar basket there, and that's what I've based a lot of the measurements and the techniques in this basket on. And here in New England, there's just a very strong history of baskets. Baskets are made in every community using the material that was local.
Yeah.
Just happens to be black ash is here, so
That's amazing.
I like the black ash because of the precision. I'm inspired by the shakers, so a lot of my baskets are either, I can't say reproductions, I'd say more inspired. Nice clean lines, symmetrical, always woven over a wooden form, and I'm married to a woodworker, so that came in quite handy.
I'm sure it did. I'm quite
And
sure.
then over the years, Steve started producing my material. So we actually cut down the trees locally, harvest them, bring the logs home, and so a lot of the magic happens out in the wood shop. Then he hands me coils of prepared material, and I take it from there. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to do as precise work as I really like to. Harvesting. First of all, we make the baskets out of black ash.
Right.
It grows in swampy areas, mostly in New England, north into Canada, and west, maybe as far as like Wisconsin.
Right.
The wonderful thing about black ash is that it is ring porous, which basically means the layer of growth that grows every spring is very spongy. So once you harvest the log and you pound on it, the growth rings will separate because that layer of spring growth gets crushed with the blows and just literally falls apart.
Yeah. Wow.
So it naturally lends itself to be ribbons of wood. We process it down finer and finer until it's whatever size that I want, but just naturally.
Gotcha. Wow, that's fascinating. So I guess one of the things I'm thinking, knowing, because I live in the Berkshires, up in Pittsfield, and the backyard of my home, where I was born and raised, is a pond and a peat bog. And so I'm thinking, how are you cutting the tree down in the swamp, and do you drag it out, or cut it into sections?
Okay, well, what we look for, first of all, are swampy areas,
Mm-hmm.
and in our case, very nice neighbors who happen to be farmers. So we make arrangements with them, we go into the swamp, check it out. Just because we find a black ash tree doesn't mean it's good for baskets.
Right.
It has to have a trunk from the ground up to the first branches that's nice and straight, no blemishes, no branches. Once it looks good, we actually drill into it with a logging tool. It's called an increment borer. Once you drill in and pull the section out, it's about the size of a drinking straw. And it is a cross section of all of the growth rings. So we can tell if the tree has thick growth rings before we even bother to cut it down.
Wow.
So if it's got thick growth rings, it's just what we want.
Exactly.
So we cut the tree down. We can usually take 1 to 2 logs depending upon what Mother Nature gives us.
Right.
We deal with 5 to 7 foot long pieces traditionally. We can harvest any time of the year, but trees growing in swamps have their own set of challenges. In the springtime, the water level is extra high.
Yeah.
In the summertime, the mosquitoes are horrendous.
Yeah.
We've tried the wintertime. You can actually get into areas that are frozen over that you can't other times.
Right.
But trust me when I say carrying a 7-foot log out with 2 people on snowshoes isn't anything that I really care to do frequently.
Oh wow, yeah, I can imagine.
So fortunately where we're harvesting now, the farmer has an ATV. So just yesterday, as a matter of fact, my husband and I cut a couple trees down, and then later they went and dragged the logs out with that, loaded it onto the tractor, and drove it a mile to our house and dropped it off in the yard.
Interesting.
But I was in the ACC show in Springfield, and I thought that I had arrived. And then I realized reproducing the same basket 40 times didn't speak to me.
Yeah.
And I discovered, it was sort of one of those aha moments, that what I really enjoyed doing was teaching. So developing a few baskets and teaching and sharing that love with people was
Right.
sort of what I guess I was made for.
Yeah.
But I'm one of the few basket makers that work in black ash and that teaches.
Right.
A lot of the people are incredible artists, but they're just makers. So I'm sort of the best of both worlds. So I teach nationally. I'm coast to coast. I teach for the National Basketry Organization, the Handweavers Guild of America at their national conference, and for a lot of schools and craft
Have you been to
places.
Penland or Arrowmont?
Arrowmont, I teach at a regular basis,
Uh-huh.
about once every 3 years. Peters Valley in New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey.
New Jersey, I've been there. Let's see, John C. Campbell Folk School.
Love it.
One of my all-time favorites. I'm hooked. I'm there, I think, 3 weeks a year, teaching a variety of things.
Yeah, it's a very special place.
It is.
I love it there.
It is.
I've actually banged hot iron there.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I love that hot shop.
Did you notice behind you?
Oh yeah, up above the
Oh
anvils.
no, just right now.
Oh.
On the floor.
Oh yeah.
My anvil.
Holy smokes. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple of pieces outside that I did, a trellis, and I have a gate in the basement. I don't have a garden yet, but I've got a gate all set, ready to go.
Awesome. Well, the fact that you're spreading the technical side of things, which is so often, the part that mystifies people, the actual process of weaving a basket, and you're putting it into their hands to learn themselves. That's really pretty exciting. Do you have repeat people who come back for a different pattern?
I do. It's funny, I teach a miniatures week at the John C. Campbell Folk School. So typically things are 1 to maybe 4 inches.
Gotcha.
I mean, minuscule. So I have a group of people that sign up year after year, and they're very good friends of mine as well. So it's nice that students have become friends. As I said, I travel and I teach classes. In a convention format, it's usually a 6 or an 8 hour block of time to teach a skill, a technique, sometimes an entire basket. So the way that I was able to organize things is I would literally put things in a plastic bag to ensure that I had all of the components for the project that was happening. And then I had a student say, well, gee, can I buy another kit? I'm like, oh, I guess these are kits. So then I started putting them together, and at this point I think I market between 35 and 40 different basket kits.
Wow.
Complete with a pattern that might be between 4 and 16 pages long, depending upon the complexity of the project.
Sure.
And all of the material we make here at home. Steve makes all of the splint. The forms that the baskets are made out of pine. Pine is readily available, and also it's soft, so we can actually pin the basket onto the form temporarily to make sure that the basket is very symmetrical.
Wow.
We also do maple handles and rims that we mill out of a maple log. So what we do is very similar to what the Shakers did. I was thinking about it the other day. It's a true division of labor. Historically, the Shaker brothers would go into the woods and cut the tree and make the wooden forms, make the handles and the rims, and everything is over a jig. So specifically, handles are made for certain baskets, and then the Shaker sisters would do a lot of the weaving. All the components would fit together because they were planned in advance, and inadvertently, Steve and I do the same thing.
Wow.
He does all the rough stuff, all the outside.
Sure.
And then I get to do what I love, is the designing and the weaving.
One thing I'd love to know, so how many kits did you say you designed baskets for?
At the moment, there's, I think, between 35 and 40.
Wow. And so you sell those regularly, and do you have a website where
I do.
And you sell them on the website?
I have a website, and on the website there is a catalog of the basket kits that are currently available. There is a wonderful gallery of a lot of my one-of-a-kind pieces.
Sure.
And the thing that I really like, and kudos to my daughter who made the website because I couldn't, there's a slideshow of harvesting the black ash, going out into the woods, cutting the tree, bringing it back, pounding it, and turning it into ribbons of wood. Awesome. So that's the educational component.
Nice. That's really great. Well, tell us about the internet. Has the internet helped you to maintain a sense of community that, especially given the rural nature of where you live, how does that help you in ways that you find meaningful?
Social media, that it sort of opened up my eyes. I am not a technology buff by any means, so my kids sort of dragged me kicking and screaming to this century and set up a Facebook account. And I'm trying to think, I think it was 2012, Crafts Report magazine was doing a promotional thing, and they actually were, it was a contest of artists. Whoever would get the most likes in the contest would go up to the next level, and I was actually able to win the viewer's choice, if you will.
Sure.
And got the cover of the October 2012. So my kids are still mortified when I joke and say I was the cover girl. They just completely die. But that connected me to people that never would I have had a chance to otherwise, because of the rural nature of this area.
Sure. And I was just going to ask you that. Have you found that this has created a whole nother community?
Oh yes, yes, amazing. One of my basket students phrased it perfectly. She said that she is very active in her church, and she says they're very supportive people, but I'm also a basket maker. She said if my car broke down on the side of the highway, I would call one of my basket friends to come and get me. And it is true. Any time that I travel, I very rarely stay in hotels because there is a whole family of basket makers out there that it's always great to get together with.